Fantasy football. Does bad weather increase turnovers? When the weather takes a turn for the worse, it can have a big impact on football games and, of course, your fantasy football lineup. Bad weather, like rain, snow, and strong winds, often leads to more turnovers. This is something every fantasy football manager should keep in mind when making weekly lineup decisions. In challenging weather, quarterbacks can struggle with their passing accuracy. Slippery footballs, poor visibility, and unstable footing make it harder to throw and catch the ball. This can lead to more interceptions and fumbles. For instance, rain and wind can reduce passing production by about 12%. Heavy snow can drop that number even more, by as much as 25%. With these conditions, quarterbacks tend to throw fewer deep passes. They often opt for shorter, safer throws to minimize mistakes. This shift can lead to more turnovers, as the increased pressure can cause errors. Running backs and tight ends usually see more action in these situations. Teams may rely on shorter passes and running plays to reduce the risk of turnovers. When the weather is bad, teams adjust their game plans. They focus on ball control and try to avoid risky plays. Running plays become more common because they are less affected by wind and rain. However, it is important to note that slippery conditions can also increase the chances of fumbles by running backs and receivers. Windy conditions can particularly limit deep passing attempts. Quarterbacks may have to stick to shorter, higher percentage throws. While this can reduce turnovers if executed well, it can also mean fewer big plays. For fantasy football management, this means that quarterbacks and wide receivers often perform worse in bad weather. They face a higher risk of turnovers and lower fantasy points. On the other hand, running backs and tight ends can gain value as offenses lean on safer plays. It is wise for managers to keep a close eye on weather forecasts. If severe weather is expected, consider benching quarterbacks and wide receivers. Instead, you might want to favor running backs and tight ends who are less affected by the weather. Understanding how a team typically handles bad weather can also help you predict player performance and turnover risk. Bad weather does indeed increase turnovers due to the challenges it brings to passing and ball handling. Adjusting your roster to favor players who are less impacted by these conditions can lead to better weekly outcomes.